think everybody knows the announcements that the National Hockey League made yesterday. We will be joined by the Commissioner, Gary Bettman, and Arizona Coyotes Chairman, Alex Muruelo. Each will make some remarks. Please, when we get to the Q&A portion, wait until you're called upon so we can get you a microphone so we can all hear the questions. And let's save follow-ups for a second round so everybody can get their questions in. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Good morning. And I wanted to take this opportunity to address all of you and to answer whatever questions you may have. Let me start by saying days like today are difficult, they're sad, and I sympathize with and understand and feel sorry about what the fans of the Coyotes are going through, and there probably is every conceivable emotion, and I respect that, and I feel badly about that. But I think if you look back from a league perspective over the last almost 3 decades, the NHL's support for hockey in the desert has been unwavering, to say the least. And for anybody who's been on that journey with us, there have been countless times where we could have made another decision and we didn't. And so I hope everybody understands that this is a place that we believe hockey works. But we find ourselves here today under difficult circumstances because when the Coyotes moved into Mullet and played now 2 seasons there, the belief was that this was going to be temporary, 3 years. And I had in my mind, with everything that had to go on, even if there was a 4th year, if a building was coming out of the ground, people would understand and be excited and we'd get through it. But as things have now played out, and with the next step, the auction on June 27th, it became clear to me that not only had the timeline stretched, we were still dealing with uncertainty because there's still an auction to be had, and there's a theme park district and some other things that have to be set up. And so we were facing, I think, under a best-case scenario, anywhere between 3 and 5 years more in Mullet. And by the way, I do thank Arizona State University for enabling the Coyotes to use that facility. And as a college rink, it's a good facility, but it's not a major league facility. And that's the point of, with the potential of 5 more years, maybe, in Mullet, it's not fair to the players on the Coyotes. It's not fair to the players on the other teams that come in. It's not a major league facility. And the prospect of possibly playing playoff games there or a Stanley Cup final, it just didn't work. So I decided we needed to look for a solution that dealt with that possibility, probability, actuality, and at the same time could keep hockey alive in the desert for the long term. So I was looking for a short-term solution and a long-term solution at the same time. The first that Alex Muruelo heard anything about what we wound up consummating and the board approved yesterday was on March 6th. That is the first time that I raised this with him, and his reaction was, no, I don't want to do that. I and my family believe in hockey in the desert. The Coyotes are important to us, and this isn't something that I think I'm inclined to do. And we then spent the next couple of weeks discussing why I believed it was appropriate for the Coyotes to go inactive. You know, there's been a lot written, expansion, transfer. We've created a scenario here that I don't think anybody's ever done before. This franchise is inactive. We didn't expand. We have 32 active franchises. But it became clear to me, and I proposed this at the outset, that there was no way that Alex was going to agree to this if he wasn't going to have an opportunity to reactivate the franchise. And that's where the concept of build a building in 5 years and we will reactivate the Coyotes. It will be inactive. Alex is free to attend board meetings. The Coyotes don't get a vote because we're not 33 teams, but he's free to attend board meetings. He's going to stay involved. And I know he's committed to keeping hockey at the professional level alive in Arizona. And I know he's committed and passionate about getting a building built. You know, we could all talk about and reminisce, and I use that word in quotes, over the trials and tribulations of how we got here. But here's where we are, and from a league standpoint, from a player standpoint, from a Coyotes standpoint, what we're doing is really, in my mind, and the minds of the governors who approved this yesterday, the right way to proceed so that we can ultimately have hockey in the desert where I believe it can not just survive, but thrive. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Alex.
Thank you, Gary. First of all, I want to thank Gary and Bill Daly for being here today. Their commitment has been unwavering, and I mean that from day one. Gary has been vested probably for more than 28 years in the desert, and he strongly believes that it works. I have now been involved 5 years, and in the last 2 years, I've seen something I've never seen before. There's no question that it works. Moving from Glendale to Tempe was the right decision. Our revenues far exceed what we ever did in Glendale, in 18,000 versus 4,500 seats. But more importantly, the fan base and the enthusiasm has been infectious. I've never seen anything like it before in my life, and I know, without a question, it works. And given the right location, which we're looked at getting in June 27th, given the right location and the new arena, I believe Arizona Coyotes could be top 10 in team-generating revenues. No question about it. I'm fully committed to doing that, and I'm excited. I've got a few words I want to say. I've been confronted with most painful decision in my life and in my 40 years of business. My family and I are devastated, and to our fans, we share your disappointment and your heartbreak. I am sorry things got to this point. I take full responsibility for my decisions and the outcome. I agree with Commissioner Gary Bettman that the NHL, that it was simply unfair to continue to have our players and coaches spend several more years playing in an arena that is not an NHL facility. I want to thank the team for what it has done on the ice, but also for the impact they have made in the community. We will miss them all. I wish them nothing but the absolute best. I wish to take, my first step is to reactivate the Coyotes, comes on June 27th, when I intend to win Arizona State land auction in Phoenix, in the city of Phoenix. My goal will be to build a first-class sports and entertainment district without seeking financial support from the public. No taxpayer dollars, no tax breaks. But I do need the support from the community and its leaders with the processing of the development is this transformative project. It cannot be done without them, and it's truly a special project. You have my commitment to do everything in my power to keep the Coyotes in the Valley, to have one of the few communities in the country with 4 professional sports teams. This is a global sports market. In the meantime, my family and I will continue to embrace our responsibility to make a positive impact in the Valley. We plan to continue to financially support and grow youth hockey throughout the region and keep the Arizona Coyotes Foundation alive. In addition, we intend to make a request to the NHL Board of Governors and ASU to relocate the Roadrunners to Mullet Arena. This is a hockey town, and the continued presence of professional hockey in the Valley is extremely important. My words are heartfelt and sincere. I know that I'll be judged on what I'm able to accomplish going forward. I completely understand I believe Coyotes hockey does belong in the desert. And after 5 years, I am more convinced than ever. Thank you.
Okay, we'll take questions.
Again, please wait for the mic. Craig Morgan will go first.
Craig Morgan with PHNX Sports. Alex, this question is for you. I wonder if you have a sense of the uphill battle you have to face in terms of public opinion. There's a lot of anger, there's a lot of disappointment, and there is an enormous amount of distrust for anything that you say at this point.
I understand that, and I can tell you one thing. I'm committed to making sure that everything I just said in the statement happens. I'm committed to the Valley. I'm committed to hockey, and I know for a fact in the last 5 years that this works. Arizona hockey works in the desert.
You know, having been in professional sports at the major league level for 43 years, there are plenty of times that fan bases get aggravated with the ownership of a team, and I believe that when Alex does what he needs to do and so that this team can be reactivated, people will be looking forward, not looking back.
Barry Bloom.
Hey, Barry Bloom from Sportico. Hi, gentlemen. So let's get to the proposal on what you want to do with the building of the arena. So my understanding is that you want an entertainment district established there, and that may be not the exact wording of it legally, but so that you can capture user fees to help pay for the project. Is that correct?
Correct. And it's a voluntary user fee surcharge, correct.
These are funds that wouldn't exist but for the construction of the entertainment district.
Okay, so the entertainment district that was created down here for the Diamondbacks, which is what I think you want to replicate,
That's correct.
that was not a City of Phoenix, decision. That was signed into law by Governor Doug Ducey, and it's an Arizona State thing, not a Phoenix thing. That's number one. Number two,
Is that a question?
it's coming. The other thing is that what happened in Tempe was the exact same thing you wanted to do, was use user fees to pay off some of the debt that would have been created to build that project. It was misconstrued by people in the community that was a tax. How do you avoid that? What did you learn from Tempe when you go into this, and how do you fight that characterization with this new project?
You know, referendum in sports are kind of tough. They generally don't pass. We've learned Kansas City with the Super Bowl champions just had a referendum fail. This project as currently outlined doesn't require a referendum. It requires that, I believe, the city and the state and maybe a couple of other governing bodies need to enact some things, but it doesn't require a referendum.
Yeah, but you can have lawsuits. You're going to have to make a case to the public about it anyway.
If there's outright hostility to another arena and there are forces at bay that are going to do everything to prevent it, that'll be a problem. But I don't doubt Alex's commitment to try and deal with all of those head on.
Second row on the left.
Cameron Cox, 12 News. Alex, I know you have a meeting with Mayor Gallego here soon, and the city's confirmed that their contract with the Sun bars them from providing any economic help to like competing arenas. What are your thoughts on that? Are you aware of that? How do you plan to get around that?
Well, I am aware of some of that, but yes, this is different because this is not, the monies that the Suns requested was taxpayer dollars. They actually came from, I guess, from the city funds. This is not that. This is different.
This is all private.
Third row on the aisle.
Brandon Brown with the Phoenix Business Journal. Alex, as you go forward with this, I know obviously hockey operations staff is going up to Utah. What's your staff going to look like here? How many people are you keeping on? I know you've had to let people go earlier this year. Can you give us an idea of what layoffs on the office side have been like this year with the Coyotes?
What I can tell you is that we're going to look at not doing anything for the next 60 days to really assess the situation, but our intent is to keep everything intact, from the foundation to youth hockey to the actual business operations that we have. That'll be assessed, but our goal right now is to really understand where we're at. And also, we're talking about, of course, bringing the Roadrunners to Mullet, but we have not done anything with ASU. We need to make sure that we have an agreement and we move forward.
And you have approval by the AHL Board of Governors that have to approve the relocation from Tucson. And you know, the fact that there might not be a firmer plan than what Alex just laid out, remember, his first awareness of this was March 6th, and it took a couple of weeks of discussions, and the amount of lawyering and documentation and discussion and negotiation that had to go on in record time for a transaction that, at least in my time in sports, I've never seen before. We were creating some new ground in terms of how we did this and structured it. It's not surprising that there aren't complete answers yet in terms of how the Coyotes will staff themselves and plan themselves moving forward during the inactive period.
Nick, aisle, second row, right?
Mr. Morello, obviously the first step is to win the land auction. If you do that, what are the next steps? And Commissioner Bettman, what are the benchmarks that you need to see over the next 5 years for the franchise to be reactivated?
I'll go first.
Yeah, please.
The most important and critical thing we have to do now is win that land auction June 27th, and I have full commitment that I will win that land auction. Once that happens, like the gentleman just said a little while ago, I plan on meeting with the mayor of Phoenix and having her and the city officials work with me on the permitting process, and the other issue is, of course, the enactment of the theme park district. Those are things I plan on doing.
And you've seen that they have plans of what the arena looks like. I think they were posted on social media. We're going to continue to monitor to see progress. Our agreement basically says we need about a year and a half notice to reactivate, and it doesn't have to wait 5 years. The faster they go, the faster the activation can take place, and we'll be looking for progress. Obviously, the most concrete thing will be a structure coming out of the ground.
Second row on the left.
Question for both of you. Mark McClune with 3TV, CBS 5, Arizona's Family. Alex, you had a very public battle with the city of Glendale over unpaid bills. You've been accused of not paying hotel bills on the road this year for your team. How much did unpaid bills get us to the point where we are today?
I'm not aware of any unpaid bills, and I can tell you one thing. To have been in business 40 years, having state licenses in media and banking, and also in Las Vegas when it comes to gaming commissions, you wouldn't be around if you didn't pay your bills. That's all I have to say about that.
Right side, all the way on the right, second row.
Remy Masti from the Hockey News. Alex, this is for you. You've made a lot of public appearances the past couple of days, but I was wondering why haven't you made many public appearances over the past year?
Because I don't like the media. In fact, it's funny, I own 2 TV stations in Los Angeles, 5 radio stations in Los Angeles, and I've never once been on any radio or any TV. I don't like the media. I'm very, I avoid media for many reasons.
Let me translate that a little bit. I don't think anybody should take that personally. I think he doesn't like being a public person,
yes.
Right? And not that he dislikes the media, because as he says, he owns media, and all of you he wasn't referring to. It was some people don't like to be that out there in public. And, you know, he wouldn't be the only owner in any sport who feels that way.
Let me clean it up. He's exactly right. I didn't mean it that way. I was being facetious, okay? Bottom line, I am involved in media for many years, but I don't like the limelight. I never have, and I don't feel comfortable with it. And so I can tell you that I've been very involved from day one. For 5 years, I, along with my family, along with Javier Gutierrez and the entire team, have been very involved in this hockey operations to make the changes that are necessary to now what I believe is a great group of young players, and they're going to do extremely well as they move forward. Okay, but yes, you know, I've learned that if you don't say too many things, you don't get in trouble.
Second row on the aisle.
Greg
Yeah.
Esposito with PHNX Sports. Alex, do you have any regrets about the last 5 years and everything that's gone on?
I'm not sure I've had time for regrets. I've been so busy with all the things that have been thrown at me at the same time. When I bought the team, we had COVID, right? After COVID, Glendale wants me to sign 20-year extension, and I said I would not do that, and that's why they kicked me out. Let's be clear. They kicked me out not because I'm paid bills, because they wanted me to sign for 20 years, and I said I wouldn't do that because that was not the right decision for this organization. The right decision is the one I made, was to move to Tempe, where we have thrived, and the fan base has been incredible, absolutely incredible. The problem is it's too small. It's 4,500 seats versus an arena of 18,000. And Glendale was just too far. I don't have anything against Glendale. I love Glendale. I love the people. I love the fans. But it's an hour-and-a-half drive. During the weekdays, it's very difficult. And people live in Arizona, and I do now, they would understand the concerns that I've had with that.
Third row on the left.
Hi, Karina Vanek, the Arizona Republic. My question's for the commissioner. You've mentioned March 6th as the date that Mr. Morello was made aware of the intentions.
March 6th.
Yes. So what made you come to that conclusion in March when the election happened months before? What kind of led to the reasoning of March and then this record time deal?
Well, it's never just one thing, but the prospect of the auction not being until June 27th, and we had to be doing a schedule for next year, and the prospect in the face of uncertainty that we were still between 3 years, best case, 5 years out, a pretty good case in terms of getting into a new arena. It was too long to you know, the average length of an NHL hockey player's career, if you were a Coyote, you might not have ever played in a major league building as your home rink. It just was too long. And from a league standpoint, hosting playoffs, even just hosting regular season games, my hope was when the team first moved to Mullet, and I think I said this previously, okay, we'd be there 3 years. That was the timetable. If it slipped to 4, but you could see the building coming out of the ground, we would have lived with that. But this is just too long, and it needed to be corrected sooner rather than later.
Second row on the right.
Chase Beardsley, the Hockey Writers. Alex, you said earlier your intent is to move the Roadrunners to Mullet Arena. Do you have any plans of helping out the hockey community down in Tucson if that happens?
There's been a lot of, look, this is very early in the process, so I'm not sure what we're going to do. We've talked about maybe playing half the season in Tucson, half the season in Mullet. There's a lot of discussions going on. There's no commitments from anybody right now. So I want to make sure that my words were taken out of context the other day. I did say them, but we don't have any agreements with ASU, or right now we haven't even spoken to the people from Tucson. But we have different ideas. So we just want to make sure that we continue to have hockey thrive in the desert.
And it's understandable, as I said before, that there aren't answers to everything, because what we managed to do in the last 5 weeks was, from all standpoints, our lawyers, Ryan Smith and his people, and Alex and his lawyers, you know, we didn't actually get full signatures until 2 a.m. yesterday. So this, in terms of the details as to what happens going forward, other than the structure of the deal, there's some work to be done, which is understandable.
Second row on the left.
Hi, Colin Harmon, ABC 15. Alex, this is for you. I hear your hesitancy towards, you know, the media and the limelight, but between yourself and Javier Gutierrez, I know a lot of lifelong season ticket holders have expressed frustration about not hearing from either of you guys throughout this, and also the concerns over the season ticket deposits that they've made. They're wondering when they will see their money returned.
Okay, so first of all, again, I was being facetious, okay? I was being facetious. I do love the media. I'm in the business, so I'm trying to understand that, number one, okay? I just don't like the limelight. In regards to your next question, I think you had 3 questions. What was the second one?
Season ticket refunds.
The question is addressing season ticket holders, because they, from what I've heard, you guys haven't addressed them specifically, and then refunds for season ticket deposits that have been made.
And you also said I hadn't spoken. And the reason why I haven't spoken was because I wasn't able to speak. I've been, for many years, basically for 4 or 5 years, I've been either gagged, threatened, or I can't speak. Now I'm finally here, and I'm speaking. As far as the ticket refunds, I know we're addressing that, but again, this is all happening right away. Just give me a little bit of time, and it will be addressed immediately.
No, there wasn't anything he could say because until it was done, it wasn't done. I mean, there were a lot of leaks, and I'm not a big fan of leaks, but there was uncertainty until it was done. This is a highly complex transaction, and I'll reiterate, one that he didn't ask for. And at the end of the day, we were trying in real time to accomplish what we needed to do. And it wasn't like somebody had been sitting on this for 2 years and had been planned out in advance. Again, this wasn't done until yesterday at 2 in the morning. And season ticket refunds will be made immediately.
Immediately. We're going to look at it, and we'll address it immediately. Just give me a chance to breathe a little bit. It's been very, like Gary said, it's been overwhelming.
Third row on the right.
Erin Patterson, K-Gun 9 in Tucson. What message do you have for the fans of the Roadrunners in Tucson now that they may lose their AHL team?
I didn't say, look, we haven't decided that. So again, I'll answer the question again. Right now, we're not sure what we're going to do. We have different ideas and different plans. We haven't yet come to a conclusion. So far, we're very happy in Tucson, and the Roadrunners have done very well. This year, I think we're in second place or first place, and we're very excited about the team in the future. But we have not yet decided where we're going to go. So I think we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves.
Third row on the left.
Greg Barr with the Business Journal. Just to finally clarify one thing before I ask my question, just about Tucson. So when the team starts the playoffs next week, that will be at the Tucson Arena, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Yesterday in Utah, the minute that they announced that this deal was done, they had more than 11,000 people plunk down deposits for season tickets. It was always a tough sell here for season tickets over the 3,000 at the most, and only a couple of thousand at Mullet. So how do you translate, this great excitement for hockey in Utah with saying, when you talk about the excitement for hockey in Phoenix, looking at those numbers?
Well, I think with the Arena Challenge, it has had an impact on attendance, obviously. Not to be flip, but in terms of the adjustment we're making while the Coyotes are inactive, I think we made a good decision as it relates to the ownership in Salt Lake City and with respect to the market itself. And the number is now up to 20,000.
Commenting on Arizona, I'm not sure, this is way before my time. I am not sure that the Coyotes were ever given a fair chance. They went to Phoenix, where we had issues with the obstruction of 4,000 seats, right, and they couldn't play there. They went to a new arena in Glendale, which is way too far. So one had obstruction of views. The next one had issue where it was too far to go. And then from there, we went to Mullet, where it's been an incredible success. It has been very positive.
Let's not do the history because it doesn't help, but Alex is also missing the piece where somebody tried to move the team over the league's objective. I mean, there's the journey has been littered with potholes, unfortunately, and we've always stood by the franchise. And again, with the right to reactivate, we're still standing by this market. I believe that a team belongs here. We need a new arena.
I agree with him 100%. I've seen it with my own 2 eyes, and I've witnessed it over the last couple of years at Mullet. It has been incredible, absolutely incredible.
Third row on the aisle.
Patrick Brown, ArizonaCoyotes.com. Question for Mr. Bettman, and kind of to piggyback off of what you just said. You've always been committed to this market. You've been here a long time. Just wondering if you have a message for the fans and the long-time season ticket holders and their support over the years.
I opened by addressing the season ticket holders and the other fans, and I'll reiterate. I'm sorry that we're in this situation. The team needs a new building in the right location. Despite the fact that ownership, Mr. Morello, is prepared to pay for this without taxpayer assistance, there have been obstacles, and we're hoping they'll be overcome because we want to see this team reactivated.
In the front.
Leah Merrill, PHNX Sports. You addressed the inability to address this publicly, but internally, why did you not address the staff before yesterday and the players to let them know that you understood their concerns, and why did you cancel multiple meetings to do that?
I'll answer it for him for the umpteenth time. Nobody knew anything until yesterday. This was far from done. It was a work in progress over roughly a 4-week period. And to suggest that we should be out there saying what was going to happen when nobody knew until it was done, I think that's a little unfair as it relates to Coyotes management and ownership.
All the way in the back on the aisle.
Elliot Polikoff, Arizona's Family. Alex, this question is for you. I know you talked about not really having time for regrets and all of the potholes that have come up over the last 5 years. Is there one thing, looking back, that you would have done differently if you could have that stands out? And if so, what would that one thing be?
I'm not sure quite how to answer that question. I really haven't thought. Honestly, I've been so focused when I got here 5 years ago during the entire time that I haven't reflected anything on what I would have done different. Could have been different things that I might have done. I think if I sit down and I think about it in the future, maybe. I think we've done everything possible considering the circumstance that I've been involved with.
I will, even though you didn't ask me the question, and even though it's not a regret, my biggest disappointment is that the referendum failed in Tempe. I've never seen a more public-private win-win than that was, and not the least of which the landfill is still there and going to be there for a long time, and there was an opportunity for it to be funded privately to clean it up. That disappointed me. Of all the things we had to deal with over the last 27 years, I found that the most disappointing.
Fourth row, back on the left.
Hi, good morning there. Lauren Clark, Fox 10 News. Thank you so much for having this press conference. Amongst the fan base, there's a lot of anger and a lot of hurt in regards to how they found out about this news. And granted, there was some, legal elements going on too. But what's the message you want to send out to fans about communication going forward?
Well, first of all, we're both here, and I'm here to address it so the league hasn't abandoned this market or the fans. And again, what we did in the last month in terms of structure and everything else, A, has never been done before, and B, wasn't done until it was done, until the last documents were. So there wasn't anything you could tell anybody other than what would fuel further speculation, because it wasn't done until it was done. It was done yesterday. Board approved it. There were times where we had discussions the night before about canceling the board meeting because it wasn't done. And so I think people are being a little unfair under the circumstances of what we accomplished and what we did and when the first time we had certainty was.
Third row on the right.
Anthony Remedios, Cronkite News. Thank you guys both for your time this morning. There were reports that started yesterday that for you, Mr. Bettman, that the new Utah team may not have a team name in this first season. Is there anything you can confirm about those reports at this time?
No. We'll have those discussions on an ongoing basis with ownership in Utah, but, to find a name, to trademark a name, to make sure there are no conflicts, to then have a campaign to unveil the name, you can't do that in this time frame. That's just another element, an indication of what we were dealing with in real time in a short window. And if the team doesn't have a real name to start out, that'll be the case. At some point, I promise you they'll have a name, but the time frame just doesn't allow for it, which is consistent with everything else I've been saying about not everything could get done based on what we did in the time frame that we were doing it.
All the way in the back left corner.
Patrick Hayes with ABC 15. Did the league or the Coyotes talk to any other potential buyers that had interest in keeping the Coyotes in Arizona and had a different plan other than building an arena
I
from
believed
scratch?
I had a very good sense of what was doable and not doable, what was realistic and not realistic, and unless somebody could put up a new hockey-friendly building overnight, wasn't going to happen here.
Fourth row on the right.
Zach Mott, Cronkite News. This is for the commissioner. When did Ryan Smith first express his interest in owning an NHL team?
2 years ago. And in fact, I think on January 24th, he sent us a letter, which was then released publicly, requesting that we consider Utah for expansion.
We have time for a few follow-ups. Second row on the left.
Commissioner, this is for you. What happens next if Mr. Morello isn't able to come to completion with some of the terms of this agreement?
Mr. Morello has 5 years to get a building built, to reactivate the team, and I know he's absolutely committed to doing everything possible to do it. That requires a hypothetical and speculative answer, and I'm not doing that because I believe that he's going to do what he says he's going to do. About what? With all due respect, if you've been listening to the conversation we've been having here about what we've done in a short window, there's an auction on June 27th. That's step one to getting this done.
Second row, Nick.
Just want to flesh out the details on that short window. I think you said March 6th was the first time you approached Mr. Morello with this idea. He said no. It took 2 weeks of discussions. At what point did he agree in principle, and did you really start hashing out details? Because probably 3 weeks at most.
There was an agreement at 40,000 feet conceptually, and then we had to get more granular to 30,000 feet. This didn't get wrestled to the ground till this week.
Again, it's a very you have to understand, they've done an amazing job. And so to do this over a period of time of 3-4 weeks on something never been done before is unprecedented. We were on uncharted waters the entire time, and it was very stressful and many hours. And I thank everybody who worked on this project, because there's been a lot of people, a lot of hours, a lot of non-sleeping to get to this point. It's been very difficult.
Second row on the aisle.
Alex, Gary mentioned that Tempe was probably the biggest regret and kind of how that went down, but multiple sources internally and externally said you weren't willing to spend enough money on the campaign, and you didn't start soon enough, and that you didn't have the right people in place. How do you respond to that?
That's Monday night quarterbacking, right? I spent $7 million on this campaign. $7 million for a residency of 200,000 people, which actually 30,000 people vote. Okay? Can you please ask Kansas City? They didn't have theirs passed either, and they won 2 Super Bowl. I personally went door to door knocking over 1,000 doors over a 30-day period. Not only did I, my family did that. All the executive team did that. We were there face to face with everybody. I did everything I possibly humanly could do to make this win. And it's unfortunate. And do I regret that? I understand where Gary's coming from. I'm unhappy that it happened. I'm not sure it's a regret for me, but I'm unhappy that it didn't pass, because we gave it everything I had, everything we possibly had to do it to make sure that we won. In fact, we were told to the last minute that we were going to win by a landslide. So to make those statements are people who really are not informed and just Monday night quarterbacking.
Barry?
So we've been talking a lot about the things that went wrong. One of the things I think that went absolutely right was the way you built hockey operations here, and now you're sending a hell of a team to Salt Lake City with a lot of cap space to give them a chance to really win. So I'm wondering, when you get through this whole process, and I'm sure you haven't even thought of it, how do you rebuild the hockey operations that is gone? And Gary, would they get the kind of expansion draft that that Seattle and Las Vegas had?
One of the points of contention in the discussion was that Alex felt very strongly that they had done a very good job in terms of their plan to build this team. They will get, when they reactivate, a team that will be composed the same way that Vegas and Seattle were.
I'll add to that. I have been criticized for my hockey operations, which I find it baffling, because I agree with you 100%. What we have created over the last 4 years is unbelievable. Never been done before. With the amount of draft picks that we have and the team that we've acquired and that I have, along with Bill Armstrong and my son and my family, handpicked, we have an incredible team that they're going to be receiving now in the next, well, it's on their way right now as we speak.
And I don't know if it makes it better or worse. Scripps has been very cooperative, extremely so, and we're grateful. We're going to flip markets, so Scripps is going to pick up the games of the team in Utah, and the games will be down here as part of the Utah team's extended market. That may make it better, it may make it worse, but the games will be viewable here.
And
What happens-
and the last comment on that, you asked me if, we did it once, can I do it again? Absolutely, we can do it again. Now I really know how things work, and I'm very comfortable with that.
So isn't this market, wasn't Utah Las Vegas's market?
The Utah's extended market for Colorado and Vegas, we're now going to flip Salt Lake City, Utah, and Arizona.
Okay.
So the games will be available here.
And then one more technical question with your March 6th timeline. The actual posting of the auction wasn't done until about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, but I knew what was going on. The fact that it wasn't posted, I knew the dynamic that was going on.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Third row in the aisle.
Speaking about that future development, with this, having these next 5 years to kind of figure that out, maybe less, we get done. Alex, do you imagine maybe bringing in other partners, whether it's maybe ownership within the team or within the development, to bring people in and more either capital or knowledge on that project?
I'll answer that question. Under our agreement, the rights to reactivate are personal to Alex. Under our agreement, he can only bring in a partner for up to 20% of the club, and he cannot build the building, have the club there, and then turn around and sell it. He has to keep it for at least another 5 years. So this isn't a situation, and I've seen some speculation and commentary about that. This is not a flip-it situation.
I think what he's also saying is he wants me to stay in the league for another 5 years on top of the 5 I've already been there, plus 5 more. So he wants me here for a while.
Exactly. Good.
We'll take two more. Craig, in the front.
Alex, you mentioned earlier that you're thriving in Tempe. From a ticket sales standpoint, Javier has gone on record talking about how much better it is than it was in Glendale. But I don't think we've addressed the overall financial picture for you, and I'm curious what sort of challenge that has been for you and how maybe that has impacted a lot of the decisions that you've made.
Well, you have to understand, yes, the ticket revenues have been far exceeding what we did in Glendale, 100%. But also, I just finished telling you, it's 4,500 seats. It's very hard to compete when you have an arena that's 4,500 seats, and that's one of the reasons we're here in the first place. I do believe strongly that when we get to a new arena in the right location, 17,000, 18,000 facility, I believe we could be top 10 in league revenue team. I'm sorry, were you cutting me off? No. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm very comfortable that if we have the right location with a new arena in a new district, we could be top 10 in the league when it comes to generating revenues, period. What has impacted me is the situation to be in Mullet, where we were hand-tied in so many ways that I couldn't really give the first class. I did as much as I could as far as our, sports science, nutrition, analytics. I mean, I gave everything hockey operations asked for and more. But you have to understand, we were constrained by the facility, we were in different buildings. It was not a good situation.
Well, and that's the point. From our standpoint, it's not a major league facility, and
it's not.
We had enough time in a college rink, as nice as a college rink as it is. The question that you're really asking is, was he losing a lot of money? You betcha, he was losing a ton.
Thank you for that. I didn't want to say that because I don't think. Look, at the end of the day, fans don't really care.
I got it. I said it. You don't have to say it. Yeah. But no, he did what he had to do. I mean, the club is a club in good standing, and even though it's now going to be inactive, but they were meeting their obligations as they came due, despite the fact that the expenses were greatly exceeding the revenue. Okay?
One last one on the second row.
Commissioner, this one's for you, I guess along those lines. In terms of the timeline and the process, rather than waiting for the June 27th vote or the land auction to see what transpires, I guess, what was the urgency in going to Utah? Because my understanding is they still have public things to do in terms of getting their arena all set for NHL play.
Two things going on there, and then I'll answer your question. There are 12,000 unobstructed seats, 4,000 obstructed. They have plans, which I've seen, to take it to 17,000 over the 2 summers after this. So they'll be up to 17,000 plus in short order, but it's an improved situation. Ideally, they probably would have preferred the timing of an expansion team, and they stepped up at our request to do this. At the end of the day, when we looked at what we had to do and the time frame we were working on, I had confidence that Ryan Smith and his partners would have the resources necessary to close this transaction in a matter of weeks. 2, from a geographic standpoint, since we've got a schedule that's substantially done for next season, the geography worked. And 3, we didn't have to deal with any realignment issues, which we didn't have the time to deal with either. So in addition to the fact that Salt Lake City, Utah was a place where we felt that we wanted to be in the long term, we had somebody under the right circumstances who was willing to step up and literally drink through a fire hose over this summer to make it work. And with that, I thank you all for your indulgence, your time, for being here. I'd like to say, as General MacArthur did, we shall return.
Thank you.